bittersweet moment for us all because you know, we have to say goodbye to some folks that we got to spend 6 years with, people that we really you know, get to know, and it's kind of sad to see that they're leaving, but it's also good to know that we think that we've done a pretty good job of pushing them out of the nest, and I think they're going to fly away and do just fine for themselves. A couple of things I'd like to do is, first of all, explain for the parents in here that our residency is run out of the dental school. We do our surgeries at the university hospital. We also do some surgeries at the VA Medical Center where we have a rotation, and then we send our senior residents, the 6-year residents, to El Paso for a 4-month rotation. I would like to thank our faculty and staff because you're the reason we're able to do all this. If it weren't for you, the machinery would break down. So every one of you in this room that's employed by us, we really want to thank you. I also want to thank our dean for being here tonight. Peter, stand up and just wave your hand. This is our Dean Luder, who's my boss, and so we're glad that you could attend tonight, Peter. We have an amazing faculty here. These are the OMS faculty that we have with us, and I think we're all here tonight, right? Everybody's here tonight, so that's great. They all have a special role. There are some certain people that have to be recognized, though, for their role in our program. Dan Perez is, of course, the director of our graduate program, and he's the one that has to deal with residents on a daily basis, and he does a bang-up job of that. So, Dan, thank you for all you do for us. Really appreciate it. And Mark Miller has the most thankless job of the group. He's the one that's in charge of trying to make our clinic function well, and but he is absolutely perfect for that job. He's a great administrator, and he is tackling problems one after the other and making some headway. So, Mark, thank you for all you've done. And Mike Startzel, who's over at that table there, Mike is the director of our undergraduate education. And for the parents in here, you know, we don't just teach residents, we also are a dental school, and we have a bunch of dental students that have to be educated in all the different specialties of dentistry. And Mike and his team are the ones that do that for oral surgery, teaching them how to take out teeth, do biopsies, medically examine a patient, work them up, etc. And Mike is just stellar at that. So Mike, thanks for everything you do for us. These are our faculty at the VA Medical Centers, Dr. Shoemaker and are they here tonight? I guess they're not. Okay, anyway, they, I think finally, at least I feel like we have a stable faculty over there. It's been a revolving door for most of you that have been here for a while, but these two, I think, look like they're going to be really long-term for us, so I hope so, because they're really good guys. We have one non-oral surgeon on our faculty. That's Dr. Barbosa. She does perio and pros for us, and she helps the residents put in implants and restores those implants. And so, thank you so much, Kansi, for what you do. And we have some volunteer faculty here that come in without pay to come in and give their time with us. Matt Gordon is here. He's a private oral surgeon in town, and he brings his orthodontic and his major surgical cases and operates with the residents at University Hospital. So Matt, thanks for all you do for us. And of course, we've got Mark Havercorn, Tom Jeter, and Patricia Lopez, who help out with the programs as well. This year we lost somebody very special to us. Stan McGuff was just a fantastic addition. He was an oral pathologist who really selflessly gave his time for us, lectures for us. If you want him to shoot pathology slides for you, he'd get them. A wonderful guy, and he had an unfortunate disease, which I think from diagnosis to death was only 3 or 4 weeks. He had a pancreatic cancer, and so I think we should just take a moment of silence in memory of Stan, because he was so much to us. Thank you. Fortunately, Stan trained some very able people, and one of which is now with us, helping out with oral pathology. And this is Juliana Robledo. She's now on staff at the university, and she has taken on the role of helping out with the oral pathology for our residents. As another one of Stan's disciples, who was at the University of North Carolina, Ricardo Padilla. And they're both fantastic additions. They give great lectures for the residents, and they really care about education. So fortunately, we've rebounded from the loss of Stan. We also, of course, every surgeon needs a good pathologist, but they also need a good anesthesiologist. And we're very lucky tonight. Stand up there, Juan. Juan Lowe is just a fantastic anesthesiologist. He's a superb airway guy, and he's always smiling. He's the most helpful guy you could ever imagine. So thanks so much for all you do for our program. I really appreciate it. And this year we had to say goodbye to some people. We had to say goodbye to Dr. Arribas, who we said goodbye to about a year ago, March maybe. He's now in Houston, where they're overworking him, obviously, because he's lost so much weight we hardly recognize him. But I'm glad you could be here tonight to say goodbye to the residents that you helped shape. So thanks for being here. Jack Vizuet was really a model of what can happen with people who go into private practice, do well, and in the end of their private practice career, come and teach at a dental school. And that's what Jack did. For 10 years, he came and was on the faculty. He taught mostly in the undergraduate department, but he was a fantastic addition to the program. He also was a pharmacologist, so he was very helpful in teaching pharmacology to our students as well. And so Jack retired about a year ago now, and so and he's I'm sure he's having a wonderful retirement. And then December of 2020, Greg Spackman decided to retire, and Greg's here tonight, so I'll ask him to come up in just a minute, but I wanted to say a few words about Greg, because Greg has been here for 27 years. He was here since 1993, I believe, and Greg was in charge of our undergraduate program. Now, when I took this job 11 years ago, I was not at a dental school. I was in Dallas at a medical school, and so I never had to deal much with undergraduate dental education. I did when I was at the University of Michigan years ago, but it had been years. And so one of the things that was so appealing about coming here and taking this position is that I knew I would not have to spend my energy dealing with the undergraduate program, because Greg had that so well in hand. He had that program running like a finely tuned clock, and I think the undergrad oral surgery experience in education that Greg and his team imparted to our students was just exemplary. And so Greg decided to retire in December, but as the kind of guy he is, he decided that he's maybe a little bit bored at home, so he's asked to come back as a volunteer adjunct faculty for us to help teach in the undergrad program again. So, Greg, I'd like you to come up for a minute, because I've got something I'd like to present to you. I've got a plaque here that just says, Dr. Gregory Spackman, a colleague, a teacher, a mentor, with grateful appreciation for the compassion, commitment, and outstanding teaching you provided to our students and residents over the last 27 years. Greg, I want to thank you on behalf of our department. We really appreciate it. We have to recognize some of our staff, because they are, like I said, they're the oil in the machine. Lynn Mendoza is the one who is in charge of making sure the day-to-day things that need to be done to make the residency run smoothly. Is Lynn here? Where's she? Stand up, Lynn. Come on, wait for it. Thanks for all you do. Lisa Aguilar is our clinic director. Is Lisa here tonight? Okay. And Jody Stone wasn't able to make it. She's my kind of right hand in the office. We've got Iris and Sarah. Sarah, I know is here, right? Somewhere there she is. Is Iris here tonight? No, okay. Anyway, thank you for all you do. Sarah helps mostly with the undergraduate department, and she works a lot with, of course, Dr. Startzel. This is the face and the ears of or the sound of our front desk and our call center area. These are the ladies that schedule our appointments, that interface with the patients in the front, that take all the phone calls, schedule the appointments, and they do a bang up job. So guys, thank you for all you do. And on the other end, these are the ladies that try to collect the money. And so, you see how everybody is vital? You know, you can't have one without the other. And I don't know if any of them are here tonight, but they're the ones that, you know, keep the money flowing. And then, of course, the ones we're in the trenches with every day, whether we're seeing new patients, whether we're seeing post-ops, whether we're doing surgery, whether they're doing the sterilization of our instruments. The dental assistants and the nurses that we have are vital to everything we do. And I know some of you are here tonight, so guys, thank you so much for everything you do for us. And sometimes we have a little fun with our patients. This is recently a couple of brothers came in to have their wisdom teeth out, and these guys were so hysterical. They were, you know, they were having so much fun. I wish all our patients had this much fun. But once in a while, we get to smile. Pop quiz for everybody here. Whose office should be the most organized? Should it be the office manager? Should it be the billing clerk? Should it be the supply manager? Should it be the resident office? Should it be the chairman's office? What do you guys think? Okay, so if you look down a hallway, you might see boxes outside somebody's office. And if you look in the office, I brought my wife down that hallway once. She looked in there and she didn't say, who lives here? She said, what lives here? Well, that what, of course, is Nellie. I don't know, Nellie, if maybe there's a system there, an organizational scheme that nobody understands but you. But I want to thank you for doing what you do, because without you ordering our supplies, we wouldn't be able to work. But you should probably keep the door closed. All right. And then we have the other side of what we do is at the hospital. And we're very fortunate to have some very dedicated folks over at the hospital. And I think 3 of them are here tonight. Elsie is our circulating nurse, and Gary is our scrub tech who hands us the instruments while Elsie's shopping on the internet. But wave your hand, guys, because they are just wonderful people. And you know, when they're not there, the efficiency of getting our surgery done goes straight down the tube. So we really rely on these folks. And of course, this I had to show this because this is a that clock says 5:15 or 5:16, right? The reason I took that picture is because this is the only day, or the only evidence of a day, when Elsie was there past 3 o'clock. Because usually at 3 o'clock, she's like gone like an Arab in the night. She's just gone. So, and of course, this wasn't a day I was there. She'll do that for Perez. She won't do that for me. So, not fair. And this is, by the way, I didn't mention Jess Lee. Jess, wave to us. I'm sorry, I knew you were in here somewhere. Jess used to be our scrub, and then she, I guess, got a higher paid job downstairs in sterilization area or something, where she puts together our instruments and makes sure they're all there for us. So Jess, thank you for all you do. Yeah, we appreciate it. And then, of course, this is Gary. What he does most of the day is what he's doing. He's surfing on his phone. I've never seen anybody that spends more time on the phone than Gary does. Well, a year in review. You know, this past year is a year that none of us ever thought we'd live through. And it's probably a year we'd like to forget, but it was so memorable, we'll never forget this year. It's a year of, where PPE took on a whole new meaning, where, Purell was like liquid gold. You couldn't buy it. It was impossible to get. These things they made us all wear to try to save us from the virus that was out there, and it became the new normal for us. The taking your temperature when you walk in the building, keeping 6 feet apart from everybody. It was just a crazy, crazy year. This is our clinic showing how we can socially distance and somehow still function. My wife and I, we live downtown, and we walk downtown almost, every other day probably. And this is what normally you see when you're walking down near the Riverwalk, something like this, people everywhere. Well, for 2 months last year, March and April, this is what it looked like. We would take walks during the day down on the Riverwalk, and we would be the only people there. Every business was closed. Every person was gone. It was post-apocalyptic. It was just amazing to see what happened to us during those 2 months. I've never seen anything like it. And who could have predicted this is something we would all have to go through? I was at the airport one day, and these 3 people came in wearing these, body hazmat suits, or just, I don't know what they are, but it was just a whole new thing for us. This Siboney and I would go to our local theater at the River Center Mall, and we would be the only ones in the theater, until the theater shut down. And the saddest thing for us this year is that for the first time in our specialty's history, our national meeting was scheduled to be here in October in San Antonio. It had never been here before. And of course, like everything else, it got canceled. So it was really a tragic thing for all of us, because we were really looking forward to hosting all the people, former alums and everything, and it just got ruined. And it made it even especially bad because this year, B.D. Tyner, one of our graduates, became the incoming president at that meeting, which we didn't get to have. And our outgoing president of the American board of our specialty was one of our former residents here, Dave Batanti. And so he would have had his banquet here in San Antonio, and everybody got robbed of everything that year, including last year's graduates. I'm so happy that we can do what we're doing tonight, because last year we were not able to do that. And it wasn't fair to our graduating residents, but it was just the way it was. We had nothing, But fortunately, at the last minute, Dr. Perez put together just a small function for the graduating residents and the faculty, and that's just a picture from that, to say goodbye to them. But it's sad that the staff and the other people didn't get to participate in that. So a horrible year. And then February of this year, if it wasn't bad enough that we had that horrible virus, we ended up having a week that was even worse for us than the last March, because at least last March, we could take walks. We could get out, even though there was nothing to do, the businesses were closed, but at least you could get out of your place. For a week this year, we had sub-freezing weather. It was just absolutely awful. I think the jet stream came down and dipped down into us. And it got to, we didn't go out of the house for 5 days. This is from our condo looking down on the city. This is I-37, and there's not one car on there. They actually closed the expressways. Now, who ever heard of that? Terrible. And Dan took this picture in his neighborhood. They got 6 inches of snow there. And for San Antonio, it was just a horrible week. It was a horrible week for a lot of reasons. We had to cancel patients. Certainly and of course it turned all of the vegetation in the downtown and probably everywhere into this green goo. These just lifeless plants everywhere. So it's a year I'd like to forget. But the good news is, like Phoenix, we're rising again, and I think now we're heading on a good trajectory. Life seems to be returning to normal. We've got 10 people around every table within a couple of feet of each other. Of course, we've all been vaccinated, but it is something that we're always going to remember. Well, before I talk about our outgoing residents and others, I'd like to first say a few words about another graduate, and that's Dr. Duncan, because Dr. Duncan at the end of June will be retiring again. So I'd like to say some things about Jim Duncan. James Martin Duncan was born in 1932 in Bayside, Texas, where his parents owned a tourist court and a grocery store. He was a middle child of 5 children. He had 2 sisters and 2 brothers. The family moved to Corpus sometime right after that, and then he went to a Catholic school. A nun told his mother that she should take him out of regular school and send him to a trade school after the 8th grade because he would never be able to finish high school. Apparently he had dyslexia, which at the time was not known, so he wasn't really good at reading. This is a picture of Jim's father who fought in World War I, and his mother, who's also named Catherine. This is Jim and his brother Jack and his sister Dotsie and his parents back when he was a little bit younger. And again, another picture of the three. In the 6th grade, the family moved to Mountain Park, Oklahoma, and everything changed for Jim. This is him in 1950 in high school. And every fall in high school, I think in Texas, Oklahoma, some of these states, the students would get out of school for 2 weeks to harvest cotton. The cotton crop. And he decided after doing that he did not want to be a farmer. Okay, I guess it's pretty hard work. He made up his mind to get a college degree, and he graduated from high school in the class of 16 students. He was the president of his class, and he played basketball for his school. His team actually went to the state finals. And that must have been a really good school, they had good teachers in that school, because 4 of the 5 team starters achieved a doctoral degree. Well, Jim received a basketball scholarship to play in college, but his father told him that, no, I want you to be a baseball player. And he had a friend that played baseball. In fact, he was actually named after that friend, named Martin. That's why his middle name is Martin. So after graduation from high school, Jim was drafted by the New York Giants and played for their farm team in Lawton, Oklahoma. After 1 season, he decided baseball was not for him. All he learned to do was to smoke cigarettes and chew tobacco. Also, he was warned that if he took time off from college for spring training, he would be drafted into the military. And at the time, we were in the Korean War, so they would have drafted him and put him in the military and sent him to Korea. So back in those days, any sport professionally, you could not play. Back in those days, if you played any sport professionally, you could not play any sport in college. Thus, he lost his basketball scholarship. But he did go on to coach a women's basketball team. By then, his family had moved to Oklahoma City. He started Oklahoma City University and graduated with a degree in biology. This is his older brother, Joe, who was Jim's hero. Joe was 10 years older than Jim and fought in World War II. He was a pilot, and he was actually shot down twice during the war and spent the last year of the war in a German prison camp. But from Joe, Jim got the drive to be a pilot, and so that's what he wanted to do. So after Jim graduated from college, he joined the Navy AOC program, and he went to Pensacola for flight training. He was then assigned to the USS Hornet, and there he learned to take off and land a plane on a moving deck. He met and made friends with a dentist aboard the ship. He spent a lot of time with them, and he liked to spend time carving teeth down there, and he decided what he'd like to do after his service was to go into dentistry. And so he knew that he'd have to go back to school and become a dentist, so he continued to serve his country by joining the Navy Reserve, and he retired that after 20 years as the rank of captain. Well, this is Jim, some photographs during flight training and maybe sometime thereafter, and quite a handsome young guy there, yeah. And after 4 years in the Navy, he applied for dental school and was accepted into the dental school in St. Louis. You know, the one they closed? After graduating from dental school, he moved to Tatum, New Mexico. He practiced dentistry there for a couple of years and decided the town was just too small. After a child got out of the dental chair and kicked him in the shin, he decided he needed to learn how to do anesthesia. So he applied to oral surgery training. And he applied and was accepted to the Parkland program in Dallas, Texas, where I spent 22 years. His final year, he presented a paper at a dental meeting in San Antonio, Texas. So that was his first invitation or seeing San Antonio. And I think now, when I look back, the reason Jim probably got into Parkland is because Bob Walker, who was the chairman at the time, was also a professional baseball player before he went to oral surgery. So I imagine that when he heard that you played baseball, you were a shoo-in, I'm guessing. Anyway, Jim liked San Antonio, and he decided to set up his practice here in San Antonio. He joined a practice with another oral surgeon, but after a year he decided to set up his own practice. He sold that practice in 2008 with the intent of retiring to play golf. Well, that lasted about 3 months, and then he was asked to join the faculty here in the oral surgery department. And so here he is now 13 years later. He's retiring once again. This is Jim and Catherine a few years ago, yeah. And Jim and Catherine may be more current. Yeah. Jim had married twice and has a combined family of 7 children. And Dawn, one of his daughters, is with us tonight. And of course, Jim is also a, what's the word? You know, there's something about age. You can get away with a lot when you're a certain age, you know. And Jim's that kind of guy. He's everybody's favorite. You know, the residents love him. Who doesn't love him? The staff love him. Hell, they're all over him. This is Jim at lunch. Spends most of his lunch hours. And this is him passing out the Christmas goodies at the Christmas party. I don't know what this is. This is one of those don't ask, don't tell. I have no idea. And this is Jim taking his ACLS exam. He was always the last one to finish the ACLS exam, but he always passed. Okay, so he always got through it. And for those of you who have ever driven with Jim, you know it's an experience. Okay. Even in parking, he looks at those parking lines as suggestions. And he and Catherine were down in Costa Rica, and he rented a car and immediately drove it off the side of the road. And this is a picture of that. And he's also like that ever-ready bunny. He's had a lot of work done. He's probably got a lot of parts in him that are probably are prosthetic parts that are inside him. And this was one day after a total knee put in. I went and saw him in the hospital. He wanted to get out. He just wanted to get back to work. So he's a hard-working guy. And of course, he spends most of his time when he's not in the surgery with the residents, watching things on the computer, usually golf. Jim's a golfer. He's also popular with the ladies. He's out there. But this is the Jim that we all know and love. Jim is a teacher. He's in there with the residents. He's advising them. He's helping them get through their surgeries. He's always talking to them, giving them pointers. He's an absolute wealth of knowledge for the residents. He's also a man of many talents. He has reinvented himself a lot of times in a lot of different ways. He can be described as a baseball player, a basketball player, a coach, a golfer, a pilot, a dentist, an oral surgeon, a doctor, a Navy captain, an artist. He's a painter and a sculptor. He's a father, a husband, and a man of God. And this is one of his paintings. And you all know that he sculpts. This is one he did of me when he first got here. He was kind on the nose. It's not as big as it could have been. But this is one of his sculptures too. I mean, absolutely amazing detail. This is one he did for his church. This is one of Bill Dodge, our former dean, that sits up on the second floor outside the Court room. And this is one that sits outside the Randolph Air Base at the Officers Club, and it's of a pilot with his oxygen mask to the side. It's just stunning. It's just a gorgeous piece. I'd also like to recognize Jim's son-in-law, Dawn's husband, David Goldfein over there, because for those of you who don't know it, David Goldfein, until the end of December of 2020, was the Air Force Chief of Staff. He was the top general in the Air Force, and he just retired from the Air Force. And so, David, thank you for your service to our country. I was so fortunate several years ago. David was in town hosting a dinner out at Randolph, and Jim asked me if I wanted to go. I said, heck yes. And so I was able to go to this, and it was just a real experience for me to hear all the accomplishments that the Air Force has done, that David's done in the Air Force. He's a fantastic speaker. It was a wonderful evening. I look back at that as a real special moment. Thanks, Dave. And when Dave retired, of course, he wanted Jim and Catherine to come. So they actually flew him and his wife, Jim and Catherine, to this thing in Washington. And this is Ross Perot Jr.'s jet that they sent for him to bring him to the ceremony. And this is Dawn and David at that ceremony. And it must have been really nice to be there. Well, this year Jim will celebrate his 89th birthday and his 50th wedding anniversary to Catherine. And that's pretty special. So Jim really is a Renaissance man. He's a man of many talents. He's knowledgeable, he's cultured, he's educated, he's proficient in a wide range of fields. And he's just a fantastic guy in all ways. So I would like to ask Jim to come up and get a plaque from me just to thank him for the years of service he's provided to our specialty and certainly to our training program. Jim, come on up.
No flash.
You won't fire me.
Well, this year we have to say goodbye to some other people too. For the family in here, we have help running the service in what we call interns. These are people that are finished dental school and they're doing a 1-year commitment to us just to help out with the service needs of our department. And this year we've had 3 fantastic interns. These are probably the hardest working people on our service, I'm going to guess. They probably put in the most hours. They're there before rounds at 6:30 to see the patients so that at 6:30 they can tell us about the patients. And they're there late at night. And so Samantha Whitten, Julia Gaviria, and Matt McDonald, all fantastic people. I want them all to come up here. I want Dr. Perez to come up here and present them with their certificates.
We couldn't really do what we do without you guys. You did a fantastic job. Wish you the best. I know 2 of you exactly where you're going to be. So we'll keep good track. All right, get together. Thank you very much.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Maybe one individually or together?
I should have mentioned that Samantha and Julia are both going to be residents in the program starting next week. Matt's going to go to practice dentistry in Arkansas. So guys, thanks so much. This year I just want to just recognize our 3 graduates from medical school. They graduated about a month ago from medical school, Mike, Megan, and Isaac, and we're so proud of them. They're now going to start a year of hell on the general surgery service and the anesthesia service. So we'll see them back in a year. Next, I'd like to recognize our PGY1 people, the people that are this year just finished their year on surgery and anesthesia. We've got Amy McFarland, we've got Ricardo Garza, and Adam Wandell. They're all here, right? Come on up here and get your certificates.
For like 2 years.
Congratulations. They were now coming back in our service in a week or 2 and there'll be fifth-year residents with us. So the end is in sight. You get 2 years of oral surgery, and you'll be graduating. So, the reason we're mainly here tonight is to honor these 3 graduates of our program. Felix, Elena, Garrett, this has really been a dream team in a lot of ways. They're all very capable, very competent, very dedicated, motivated, fantastic residents in every way. And it's, again, sad for us to see you all go, but that's life. So let's begin with this. So it's a little easier this year than some. Who's that? Low or fear? Well, who's that? That's low. Yeah. This is Elena. Yeah. So we know who that is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Who's the oldest? Who thinks it's Felix? Several hands.
We know who's the grandpa.
Who thinks it's Elena?
No.
Garrett? Oh yeah. Yeah. Who would have thought? Yeah, it is Garrett. Garrett is a bit older than the others. Yeah. Not a lot, but a bit. Yeah. Who came the farthest? So who do you think came the farthest? It's close. It's not Garrett. It's definitely Felix. He came the farthest, 25 or 2,600 miles, whereas Garrett only came 2,100 miles. And of course, Elena, she's just around the corner. So I'm going to start in alphabetical order here with Felix. He was born in 1988, which is the year I moved to Dallas. So it's a long time ago. Yeah. Born in Caracas, Venezuela. He did his dental school at the Central University of Venezuela, which is a public university there. He did his oral surgery training in Colombia, in, I guess it's
Bogota.
Bogota, okay. And of course he came here, he did an internship with us, and then he came back and became a resident for a couple of years. So he had a nice life growing up because he grew up in an island paradise. Margarita Island is a little island off the coast of Venezuela that I was fortunate enough to visit several years ago for a meeting, but this is what it looks like. Felix was able to spend his childhood there. Beautiful place. This is Felix, very early on. You'll notice the open mouth posture. You'll see that a lot in these slides of Felix. I guess air is free, so so he's got his mouth open a lot. And his mother really wanted a daughter, and so she used to dress Felix up. Andrea told me the reason he's
Es
in
el
that dress has something
vestido
to do
del
with
baptismo, ¿no?
baptism or something. I don't understand, but anyway. Here's another one with a mouth open again. Yeah. And him growing up, same thing. Same thing. I don't know what that's about. And here's Felix a little bit later in life. And as you heard, Felix has 2 brothers. Felix is the oldest. He's got Carlos Enrique, who's here, right? He goes by the name of Kiyu.
Yeah.
Kiyu. Thanks for being here, by the way. And the youngest is Luis Alejandro. They call him Bebo. Bebo?
Yeah.
Bebo. He's 27 years old. He lives in Spain, so he's not here tonight. By the way, Felix's father could not be. Felix's father is a physician on the island, but he couldn't be here tonight because of the visa problems we have with Venezuela. Sorry about that. Yeah. Glad his mother could be here though. Yeah. And Felix was always more of a father to his brothers, probably than a brother. He was a good student. He was responsible. He would always give his brothers lectures on topics and things, and keep them educated. Apparently, his brothers are a little bit more easygoing than Felix. And Felix is a little bit more, I don't know, maybe motivated or dedicated. I'm not sure, or just stressed maybe. Anyway, here's Felix with one of his brothers, probably you, I'm guessing. Yeah. And here he is with his other 2 brothers.
with his mouth
literally,
open.
and his father and the 3 kids. And I don't know why they're still sleeping with their mother at this age, but so be it. So this is interesting. I saw this photo and I said, it looks like he has braces on his teeth. Yeah, but I've never seen braces like that. I tried to enlarge that picture. These look like they are made in the garage. I don't know what brand that is, but it's. So Felix was into dentistry many years, from a young age, and he was always obsessed with teeth. When he was 3 years old, he was sitting with his grandmother watching television. When they saw the news from the United States, it said in a zoo in the United States, they were fixing cavities in the teeth of a lion. And they showed the whole process from putting it to sleep to drilling it and doing all that stuff. And he was just amazed by it. He asked his grandmother, he says, well, how do lions get cavities? And she replied, taking advantage of the fact that he was always chewing gum. Well, the people that come to see the lion are always giving him gum, giving the lions gum, and he gets cavities from that. And so Felix, he actually believed her, and he just couldn't understand why. He was really sad about it. He said, why would children give gum to a lion? So after that, he went to his room, and there was a bowl of gum there. He threw it all away. So he got broken of the gum chewing habit, which is probably a good thing. This is him graduating from, I'm not sure what, but grade school maybe, I'm not sure. But this is the paradise that Felix got to live in,
La Colmena.
in that island. He and his brothers a little bit later on. And another photo. This is Felix, obviously not in Venezuela, but when he was about 7 or 8 years old in religion class, they were told that we were all the children of Adam and Eve, and that Cain and Abel were their children. He had that topic running through his head, and when he got home, he drove his mother crazy with questions about it. He started with, your mother's name was Maita. Your grandmother's Luisa Amelia. What was her great-grandmother's name? Where his mother replied, Rita. So he kept asking, further on. He's trying to get back to Eve, I guess. And he was driving his mother crazy. And in the end, he told his mother, Mommy, I have a question. Can you explain to me, if I keep on going, will we ever get to Eve? Sure, son. So how did they do it if Eve had only 2 kids? And he's very inquisitive, he drives us crazy. I sent him to her, so his mother sent him to his father to answer those more complex questions. His father, who already was used to Felix's questions, tells him that what happened is that they did not tell him the whole story in school, and that there were more people on the other side of the island where he lived. And he arrived very happy the next day and told his religion teacher that the whole story, and he was satisfied. He understood the answer. So sometimes you just got to lie to Felix to get him to move on to the next topic. And here he is on a horse, having at the beach with his brothers, and of course Felix played a lot of sports. He knew how to handle a horse pretty well, it looks like. Rock climbing, surfing. Oh, what a life! Look at this, having fun. Look at this; it's pretty good. I don't know how they took these photos, but they're pretty good photos. Yeah. Very nice. Beach time. What a life! Yeah. River rafting. Climbing again. Not sure what he's doing. And bicycling with all kinds of criminals. And for those of you who know Felix, you know that he can cook. He cooks pretty well, apparently. I don't know what this is about, this cutting of the hair like this. I asked Andrea, and she said, well, they do this to intimidate the other team when they play soccer or something.
It's like a ritual.
It's a ritual, okay.
For the
It's a silly ritual.
Initiation.
Okay, Venezuela. And here's Felix with no hair. Yeah. And of course, Andrea came into his life, changed everything for him.
For good?
We all love Andrea. And this is more recently here in San Antonio. His mother's and the brother are visiting. I like this shirt. I'm not a doctor, but okay. And this is him in graduating from dental school with his students, friends. And another picture from their graduation, dental school again. And this is his diploma. And this is a picture from graduation. That's his grandfather with them. His grandfather's a psychiatrist. And this is now a little bit further along, and he hurt his leg playing soccer in Bogota, or his ACL or something. And so he was wounded. He looks forlorn because his friends are out playing and he's sitting. But this is him in his residency in Colombia. And the guy right here, Omar Vega, is a wonderful surgeon who unfortunately passed away last October to a COVID-related illness. And he's a young guy. I mean, he's in his 50s, I think. Here's Felix graduating from his residency in Colombia. And he won the Investigator of the Year during his residency. Congratulations, Felix. And of course, every day he brings his wife lunch, like a good husband does. And he even listens to her during surgery because she is faculty and he is not. So it's really good. He knows his place. So what things am I going to remember most about Felix? Well, certainly one you have to know is his big glasses. You know. And do you remember Rick Perry ended up with these big glasses, and Donald Trump famously said the reason Rick Perry wears those big glasses is so he can look smarter. Well, that's those. So Felix went out right away to look smarter and got glasses. It didn't work for him, but it certainly worked for his wife. I would call him our king of complications. Of the three residents who graduated, I would tell you that Felix probably has the most complications. And maybe that's because he does the most surgery or he's the most inept. I'm not sure which. But here's a patient after a surgery that we did together. You know, normally you can raise your eyebrow on both sides, Felix, not just one after that surgery. Another one. That's not yours? Well, it's not Lowe's and it's not the lightest. These are my favorite, though. I don't even know how these happen, but these are disasters and now I know why Perez is such a good surgeon, because he's had to figure out how to take care of all your mistakes. And that's these are ones I'd want to hide. And the things I wish I could forget about Felix. I wish I could forget this photograph. I wish I could forget that photograph. And the one I'd want to forget the most is this one. That's a scary one. And he's also, you know, he's very persistent. You heard that about his questions to his parents. And he's really persistent. One day when he was living in El Paso this last year, he would call his wife and mother and say, you know, I hear this beeping noise. I can't find out what it is. And it turns out, you know, they got all these fire alarms, you know, and when the battery goes out, they make a noise. So he'd go listen to each one, he'd disarm them, he'd hear the noise. He'd disarm them. Before long, he had all of these taken apart, and the beep kept going. He couldn't figure out the beep until the next day he came back, he heard the beep again. So finally he figured out, well, there's a sub-basement. And in the sub-basement, there's another one down there. So he is a persistent guy. And so what else will I remember about him? Well, he's a very dependable individual. He's a skillful surgeon. He's knowledgeable. He's a hard worker. He's a stellar resident in every way. And so after graduation, he's going to be indentured to us here at the university. He's going to be the low man on the totem pole. And remember what rolls downhill. Just remember that. So we're glad to have you, Felix. So come on up here. Dr. Perez is going to hand you your certificate. Thank you. Elena. So Elena was another child of the 80s, late 80s. She was born in Livonia, Michigan, right outside of Ann Arbor. And she went to Central Michigan University. She went to dental school at the University of Michigan, you know, the one that's named #1 in the world for the last 5 years. You know. And she did her residency, of course, with us. Before I talk about Elena, I want to say a few things about her parents. Because I met her parents when I was teaching anatomy at the University of Michigan years ago, and they were assigned to the same cadaver. And so I think they're the first couple ever to end up getting married, meeting by working on a cadaver together. Okay? And the funniest thing too are their names. I mean, awesome. What a great name. And then Dalbert Fear, for a dentist to be called Fear. All right, great names. But